Kimberly, how are you?
Good.
Good. So last week we talked about getting some sense of time frame with your story, and I learned that we call it temporal elements. So can you maybe show me or tell me about how you added those into this story?
Well, right here it said, I think we should set up camp for the night. It's getting dark. It's kind of saying that it's dark. And then during the night they found a lion, and in the morning the lion was gone. So that's kind of like the morning.
I like that. Good.
And then I had some like time right there.
Okay. So we're in the AM. They continued on the trail. Nice. I like this word too, continued. It's progressive. It's telling us, yeah, they're making a decision. I like that. Wonderful. Does it go to the next page?
Yeah, I finished the paragraph on this page. So.
Okay. So I want to read this last paragraph. The family stopped and ate a little snack for lunch, then continued on the trail. They were all very hungry. It was getting dark, so the family set up camp and ate dinner. In the morning, very good use of that temporal language so that we can see this progression of time. So now we're understanding it's a couple of days into this journey, and you're ready to say, okay, they're going to be, So the next portion, are they going to meet the people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. That's going to be awesome. So I can tell you are still continuing to write this story. Since today's our last writing conference, I wanted to leave you with a couple of thoughts about when you get to that revision process. Do you know what I mean when I say revision?
Kind of.
Okay, let's talk about kind of what revision means. Revision means you're going to go back and read through it, and I would suggest reading it out loud, because then you're going to get an understanding of how the sentences flow. But if there seems to be a sentence that sounds awkward to you, make a little check mark or put a little mark with one of our sticky notes, and then go back to that and say, okay, why did that sound awkward to me? Because during revision, we want to help it flow for our reader. We're looking for things that make sense as far as sequence, okay? And so reading out loud really helps us kind of identify those things. A second strategy that I would suggest is having a peer review it. So since you're not in school class, your peers would be your mom, your dad, or an older sister. Have them read through it and ask them, what do you think? Do you see anything that I could change, or do you have suggestions? So those are a couple of things there. The one thing I wanted to share with you, and I brought a text to kind of share, is also, so you're looking for how it sounds and making sure it sounds naturally for a reader, but also word choice, because word choice can make our writing more interesting to our reader. So let me share with you, this is from the book called The Witches by Roald Dahl, and he really does have a really good way of describing things and using word choice to help us create a mental picture. So let me just look through here, and actually, do you mind reading it, or do you want me to read it?
I can read it.
What I want you to think about while you just read this short paragraph from here to here, what kinds of words is he using to create more interest for the reader or a mental image, okay? So read from here to here.
Come down out of the tree, little boy, she said, and I shall give you the most exciting present you've ever had. Her voice had a curious rasping quality. It made a sort of metallic sound as though her throat was full of drawing pins.
So what stuck out to you in that short little paragraph? Were there any words that helped you understand
like there were some words that like help understand how her voice sound that you
Exactly.
wouldn't think that you'd probably use for.
Yeah. But as you read through that, did something, a mental image or a mental sound come to your mind? Like, oh, how did her voice sound? What word did he use? Let's look back here. Her voice had a curious rasping quality. It made sort of a metallic sound. So did that help you get a mental picture of how she's sounding? But do you see how he used these more interesting words? And so that's something as you start this revision process, looking for areas that maybe you can use a different type of word that's going to bring a little more interest or description of how things look or sound. I was glancing through to see if we can find an example in your story. Okay, maybe right here. Then all of a sudden, a gust of wind came and blew the map right out of Dad's hands. I like how you used the word gust, because that tells us it was a quick, harsher wind. If you just said, then all of a sudden, the wind came up. But see, gust, that is a very good choice of words to tell us what type of wind that was. And so you're going to kind of go through then and just check sentences and think, ooh, is there a different word I could use? That might be a better word. Does that make sense? Now, I brought some sticky notes. Sometimes when I do rough draft writing, I like to skip a line so that when I'm going through this revision process, in the empty line, I can write my revision. Where we don't have that skipped line, that's okay. I'm going to give you the sticky notes, because when you find a spot that you want to revise, put a sticky note on there, write your revision, so that when you go to do your final draft, you'll have these where you need them. Okay? So I'm going to leave those with you. And then the last thing, since this is our last one, we kind of have two little steps here. You're going to start looking at revision and also continuing to finish writing your story, right? But when you get to the publishing, I wanted to share with you a web app that actually you could go and type this story in and find pictures to make it a long-form story. So it's called Storybird, and I learned about this in my technology class. And I'll leave this with you because this tells all of the ways you can sign up. It's a 7-day free trial, so you'll have to just check with your parents and make sure they're okay with you signing up for this. But it's a 7-day free trial, and you can go in and pick a story. I'll show you on this when we're finished explaining it. You can pick your format for your story, and then it pops you into creating your storybook. And you can put pictures to the different scenes that you're describing. Now, I would call this more of a long-form story, not necessarily a picture book type, but you can still pick pictures that are going to go with what you're talking about. And there's thousands of pictures on this website. And I thought that might be a fun way for you to publish what you've done this summer. Okay? So I'll leave that with you. Do you have any questions about what we talked about?
I don't think so.
Any other thoughts or ideas? Okay, it's wonderful. Thank you for letting me do this with you. I appreciate it.